What if I told you that hell isn't just ruled by Satan alone? What if there's an entire hierarchy of demonic princes, each more terrifying than the last, each representing humanity's darkest impulses? These aren't just bedtime stories or medieval superstitions. These are the 7 princes of hell, ancient entities mentioned in religious texts, feared across cultures, and still whispered about today. By the end of this video, you'll understand why even speaking their names was once considered dangerous. Let's descend into the abyss before we meet these infernal princes. We need to understand where it all began. In the dawn of creation, when God formed the heavens and earth, He created magnificent beings to inhabit the celestial realm: angels, archangels, and cherubim. Among them stood 3 names you might recognize: Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer. But Lucifer was different. He was the most beautiful, the most powerful, the most perfect creature God had ever created. And that perfection became his downfall. Pride consumed him. The Bible calls it the first of the 7 deadly sins, the root of all evil. Lucifer's beauty made him arrogant. He looked at his creator and thought, "Why should I serve when I could rule?" So he devised a plan so audacious it would split heaven itself. He would place his throne above God's. He would become God. But Lucifer didn't act alone. Using deception, earning him the title Father of Lies, he convinced 1/3 of heaven's angels to join his rebellion. Imagine that 1/3 of all angelic beings turned against their creator. The battle that followed shook the foundations of heaven. Lucifer transformed himself into a mighty dragon, wielding powers that terrified even the celestial hosts. But he faced a formidable opponent, Archangel Michael, commanding God's loyal forces with a flaming sword. Despite his immense power, the dragon fell. Michael, backed by divine authority, defeated Lucifer and his rebel army. The punishment was swift and merciless. Lucifer and his fallen angels were hurled from heaven, crashing down to earth before being imprisoned in hell. But Lucifer's punishment went deeper. The most beautiful angel was transformed into Satan, a hideous, corrupted shadow of his former glory. Yet even in defeat, burning with hatred, Satan plotted his revenge. If he couldn't defeat God directly, he would destroy God's greatest creation, humanity. Satan's master plan, Satan's strategy, was brilliant in its cruelty. Humans were created in God's image and likeness, everything Lucifer had lost. So he entered the Garden of Eden disguised as a serpent and approached Eve. With his silver tongue, he convinced her to taste the forbidden fruit, orchestrating what would become known as original sin. Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise. Satan had won his first victory. From that moment forward, Satan devoted every ounce of his being to one mission: alienate humanity from God, turn them into sinners, ensure they never reach paradise. His fallen angels became demons, each assigned to corrupt, tempt, and destroy. But Satan needed generals. He needed princes to rule alongside him in hell. And that's where our story truly begins. The 7 princes of hell, these demons aren't random monsters. Each represents one of the 7 deadly sins, the fundamental vices that lead humans to damnation. Let me introduce you to the Cabinet of Darkness. Belphegor, the demon of sloth. Belphegor's story is perhaps the strangest. Some traditions claim he was once a powerful archangel named Belphegor. But when Lucifer's rebellion erupted, Belphegor did something unforgivable: nothing. He didn't join the rebels. He didn't fight for God. He stood frozen in inertia, paralyzed by indecision. For this cowardice, for his refusal to choose, he was cast into hell alongside the rebels. Now Belphegor rules as the Lord of Laziness, whispering to humanity, "Why bother? Nothing matters. Give up." He drains ambition, kills dreams, and convinces people their potential isn't worth pursuing. In our modern world of endless distractions and procrastination, Belphegor's influence has never been stronger. Azazel, the demon of wrath. Azazel was among the first fallen angels, and his crimes were particularly heinous. After being cast to earth, he did the unthinkable. He took human women as lovers. The offspring of these unholy unions were called Nephilim, giants and monsters that corrupted the world. These abominations tainted creation itself, forcing God to cleanse the earth. But Azazel survived, transformed into an archdemon representing pure, unbridled wrath. He feeds on anger, violence, and revenge. Every act of rage, every moment of hatred, strengthens him. Mammon, the demon of greed unlike the others. Mammon wasn't originally an angel. He was a pre-Christian deity associated with wealth and material possessions. Over time, he became synonymous with greed itself. Jesus Christ specifically warned against Mammon, stating that no one can serve both God and money. Mammon represents the corrupting power of wealth, the belief that accumulation of riches is life's ultimate purpose. In hell's hierarchy, Mammon whispers to CEOs, politicians, and ordinary people alike, "More. You need more. You deserve more. Take more." He turns contentment into hunger and prosperity into obsession. Beelzebub, the demon of gluttony, his name means Lord of the Flies, and his origins trace back to Baal, an ancient Semitic fertility god. When Christianity rose, Baal was demonized and merged with Beelzebub, creating one of hell's most powerful princes. Beelzebub ranks second only to Lucifer himself. His power lies in insatiable hunger, not just for food, but for consumption itself. He devours everything: resources, experiences, pleasures. Nothing satisfies him, and nothing ever will. He brings pestilence and plague, and his influence manifests in humanity's endless consumption. We live in his world now, a world where having enough is never enough, where we consume until we destroy. Asmodeus, the demon of lust. Asmodeus has a disturbing origin story. He was once human, the king of Sodom, the infamous city of depravity. He guided Sodom's inhabitants into such extreme corruption that God destroyed the entire city with fire and brimstone. When this depraved king died and descended to hell, his wickedness was so profound that he was elevated to demon status. Now Asmodeus rules over lust in all its forms, corrupting love into obsession, desire into addiction. Leviathan, the demon of envy. Unlike the others, Leviathan isn't humanoid. He's a colossal sea monster described in the Book of Job. God himself speaks of this creature, describing its massive size, impenetrable scales, and terrifying power. Leviathan creates massive waves with every movement. Fire shoots from his mouth, smoke from his nostrils. His chest is hard as stone, and no weapon can pierce his armor. He represents the deep, consuming nature of envy, the poison that corrodes from within. Envy isn't loud like wrath or obvious like gluttony. It's subtle, festering, turning achievement into bitterness and joy into resentment. Lucifer, the demon of pride. Finally, we return to where it all began. Lucifer, the morning star, the most beautiful angel ever created, rules as hell's supreme prince. His sin is pride, the original sin, the sin that started everything. Pride made him believe he was equal to God. Pride made him rebel. Pride transformed him from heaven's greatest angel into hell's darkest demon. He conspires with his fellow princes, waiting for the prophesied end times when they'll make their final move. According to scripture, Satan will send his son, the Antichrist, to prepare earth for one last battle against the Creator. The Antichrist, Satan's ultimate weapon. The Bible prophesies that when the end times approach, a sinister figure will emerge. The Antichrist, Satan's son, born from a woman like Christ but half demon. He won't announce himself with horns and hellfire. Instead, he'll be charismatic, brilliant, persuasive. He'll perform miracles, preach freedom, and win millions of followers. He'll deny heaven and hell, claiming this world is all that exists. He'll found a world religion, declaring himself the true Messiah. He'll mark his followers with 666, the number of the beast. And by the time humanity recognizes him, it will be too late. Only when the Antichrist reaches maximum power will Christ return to save the faithful and begin the final judgment. The seven princes of hell aren't just ancient myths. They represent something deeper, the fundamental weaknesses in human nature. Pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. These demons don't need to appear physically to win. They just need us to give in. Every day, these forces whisper in our ears, testing our resolve. Understanding them is the first step to resisting them, because according to these traditions, the war for human souls never ended. It's still raging, and the battlefield is the human heart. What do you think? Are these just stories, or is there truth hidden in these ancient warnings? Let me know in the comments.